My name is David, and since February 4th of this year, something has haunted me. A man was killed in the Philippines on February 2nd. He lived in Boston. I grew up in Boston. That's not what haunted me. His name was Ralph. He was murdered on the island of Mindanao. My wife and daughter were born on Mindanao. In Mindanao, my wife grew up there. Again, this is not what haunted me. Ralph was killed right after he took $800 from an ATM in the Philippines, meaning 50,000 pesos. This makes no sense. That is what haunted me. Ralph, who had limited knowledge of the Philippines and banking, somehow could pull 50,000 pesos from an ATM and then get killed because he used an ATM. On Wednesday, during my tutorial video, I showed how to get 40,000 pesos or 80,000 pesos out of an ATM in the Philippines. The 80K pull took two US debit cards from different banks, meaning Schwab and Fidelity. My thumbnail for today's video says the $800 hit. Like as in a hitman, we're talking a real world John Wick, Leon the Professional, or La Femme Nikita. Here is the minimum wage for Region 8 Eastern Visayas. Assuming a 6-day per work week blue collar job, you can get 19 weeks pay from 50,000 pesos. Let me back up a little. We all know Elliot Eastman, a young vlogger, was killed in Western Mindanao. A sad end to a young life, but no one was surprised. Elliot knew he lived in a bad part of Mindanao. He said as much on his YouTube channel, and he paid with his life. What happened to Ralph took place in Trento, 450 kilometers from where Elliot Eastman was killed. It's not the same hood. And again, $800 makes no sense. It's too much money to pull from an ATM, but it is a clue that the whole thing is suspicious. February 4th, the New York Post, a pillar of journalism with no discernible history of hyperbole or salacious content. Here's what the Post said, more or less. A Boston man was mugged and fatally shot in front of his distraught partner while vacationing in the Philippines on the same crime-ridden island, where a young American YouTuber was abducted last year, authorities said. The Post kind of missed out that police thought Elliot Eastman, well, he'd been dead for 2 months before Ralph was killed. Most foreigners in the Philippines do not think Mindanao is crime-ridden. There are dangerous areas, but I feel safer in the northern parts of Mindanao than, say, Oakland, California, or San Francisco. My US home is in San Jose, California. I am allowed to slag Oakland and San Francisco. Ralph was killed in front of his husband, not his partner. This is important. See, in a communal property state, the life insurance beneficiary is typically required to be the spouse. The New York Post doesn't want to acknowledge the marriage. That's a huge red flag because spouse gives more suspicion as to why Ralph was killed. The New York Post goes on to raise other red flags. Here's kind of what they said. Ralph Manicky was gunned down by a helmet-wearing perp in the town of Trento on Wednesday night while he was withdrawing roughly $800 cash from an ATM. The suspect jumped out of an SUV just as Manicky and his partner Jade, a Filipino native, had put wads of money inside their bag. In Trento's scene here, you're not doing a 50,000 peso pull from a single ATM. It's also highly unlikely the perp is jumping out of an SUV. You don't drive a 500,000 peso or 1 million peso SUV to commit a crime. There aren't a lot of SUVs in remote areas of the Philippines. How many lime green 2003 Toyota Fortunas are there in Trento with a Grateful Dead sticker? Driving an SUV practically solves the crime for the police. No one thinks it odd that the guy gets out of the SUV wearing a helmet? What does the New York Post mean by wads of cash? I pull 40K all the time out of ATMs. I guess 50K is a wad of cash, but 50K fits pretty comfortably into a wallet. There's just a lot wrong with the story. The website NDTV, meaning New Delhi Television, reported the same crime, as did a couple of other Indian channels. There are a lot of Indian expats in the Philippines, so they report on crime. The tale of Ralph's tragic demise doesn't even show up on CNN or Fox News or the New York Times. The website for the Manila Bulletin has a slightly different story. On February 2nd, a Sunday, not February 4th, Ralph was killed. Ralph and his husband Jade had pulled into a resort at 9:30 at night, and they were driving an SUV. The perp got off a motorcycle, wearing a helmet. The perp, carrying a shotgun, shoots Ralph. As Jade cowers on the ground, the perp takes the bag with the 50,000 pesos from Jade. So some random guy is carrying a shotgun on a motorcycle. Ralph is getting the luggage from the back of the SUV. Ralph is 56. He earns good money. Is he going to wrestle a guy with a shotgun? You point a shotgun at me or Ralph, you're going to give the perp your wallet, your keys, your watch, your cell phone. It's just a frickin' cell phone. It's a shotgun. Ralph isn't even the one holding the 50,000 pesos. Then after, bam, getting shot, the perp's calm. His ears are ringing, guns are loud. The perp calmly walks over to Jade, cowering on the ground, and asks, "May I please have your sling bag, Paul?" The perp does not say take a backpack with a laptop in it. My backpack has 2 to 3 laptops on any given trip. It is worth way more than my wallet. In the story, Jade says they had just gotten 50,000 pesos from an ATM in town. Again, who the F finds an ATM in a tiny province in the Philippines, pulls 50,000 pesos? It was a Sunday night. Ralph did not get the money inside the bank during the day. Ralph would have been pulling from 3 to 5 ATMs in the dark. Now, my theory is it's an inside job. The resort? Did someone who worked at the resort tip off the assassin? How could anyone at the resort know the exact time Ralph and Jade would pull up and check in? Was it someone in Jade's family? How would someone know the exact time Ralph and Jade would pull up to the resort? Did Jade say "Hey, Tita Alma, Tito Ferdi, we're pulling up with a sling bag with 50,000 pesos in cash and we're arriving at 9:31 p.m.? That did not happen. So it could be random. I mean, there could be throngs of guys riding motorcycles around Trento, carrying shotguns, scoping out ATMs on a Sunday night for the random white guy that shows up at an ATM on a Sunday night. Both Ralph and Jade knew when the SUV was pulling up to the resort. Both Ralph and Jade knew the money was in the sling bag carried by Jade. By the way, the rooms at the resort are 300 to 1,300 pesos per night. You don't need 50,000 pesos in cash to stay at that hotel. Buy the hotel? Maybe. Stay at the hotel? No. My wife found a Filipino true crime YouTube channel that claimed the 50,000 pesos was for a business deal. I am not pulling 50,000 pesos from a bank in a middle of the night for a business deal. I'd get it the next day. I sent messages to the resort with questions. I sent messages to the police station and individual officers with questions. I messaged the reporters who wrote the news stories. I messaged the local radio station that reported on the crime. No one replied. Simple timeline, and this is my best research guess. Ralph and Jade met in person 2022 in Thailand. They took a vacation together just after Thailand opened up after COVID. Jade receives a fiancé visa and travels to the US to marry Ralph. You know, like 90-day fiancé. They got married the end of 2023 in Boston. January 1st, 2024, New Year. Ralph can add Jade for health, dental, vision. He could have added him earlier, but most tech jobs have a standard life insurance policy of 2 years' salary. Ralph has no kids. Let's say Ralph is earning 150,000 US per year. He's probably earning more. So 2 years salary at 150,000 is 17 million pesos. My wife is my beneficiary. Where do you think I got the idea for this video? During 2024, Jade gets his provisional 2-year green card. It's a short-term marriage. The initial green card is 2 years. Ralph is a manager at a high-tech company. He likely has a condo in Boston or near Boston. He likely has 401k and IRAs. $1 million condo, $1 million IRA plus life insurance. Jade could be looking at 140 million pesos or more. The new president takes office in America January 2025. Ralph and Jade decide as a pride couple to fly outside the US just as the new president takes office in America. It is not wise for someone from Team Pride with a 2-year probationary green card to fly outside of the US right now. I mean, that seems like common sense. Jade had spent 16 total months with Ralph before Ralph was killed. One final thing, Jade was from Trento. The shooter who got away with 50,000 pesos also lived in Trento. I am not saying Jade had his husband killed, but dang, there was some serious motive there. Could such a travesty happen in America, an unsolved murder? Go check out the John O'Keefe story. This murder took place in Canton, Massachusetts, 30 miles from where I grew up. The best suspect in the murder was a Boston police officer, and the Canton police never investigated him. They charged somebody else. This video is not meant to be negative against Ralph and Jade for being on Team Pride. In this other video, I actually found solid proof a heterosexual American killed his much younger Filipino wife because she was leaving him to open a spa in the Philippines. So, spousal murder, it could be Team Pride, it could be Team Hetero. I was actually really proud of that other video because I actually solved the motive for the murder, and no one else in the press had actually done that. Anyways, watchers, pick your spouses carefully. Don't visit ATMs at night in remote parts of the Philippines. Catch you in the next one.